landscape of ancient Greece was marked by the rise of the polis, a city-state that became the fundamental unit of Greek civilization. In each polis, the development of political systems was deeply intertwined with local customs, economic structures, and social hierarchies. While the polis was characterized by its autonomous governance and a sense of civic pride, it also became a battleground for competing ideologies, most notably democracy and oligarchy. These two forms of governance, which were at odds with one another, shaped the political and social dynamics of ancient Greek society. Their competition defined the political evolution of Greek cities, particularly in Athens and Sparta, and had a lasting impact on Western political thought. The concept of the polis. The term polis, plural, polis, refers to a Greek city-state which consisted of an urban center and its surrounding territory, often including farmland and smaller villages. Each polis was a self-governing entity with its own laws, policies, and constitution. Though the polis shared common elements, such as language, religious practices, and cultural traditions, each polis had distinct forms of governance and political structures. The autonomy of the polis made Greek civilization unique in the ancient world, with each city-state developing its own version of politics, economy, and military practices. The polis also held a significant place in the identity of its citizens. Greek citizens, known as polites, identified themselves first and foremost with their polis, and the collective loyalty to the city-state often outweighed any allegiance to a broader Greek identity. As a result, the political system of each polis was considered a reflection of its values and priorities. This made the polis a fertile ground for the development of competing political systems, particularly the forms of democracy and oligarchy. Democracy in Athens. One of the most famous examples of a democratic polis is Athens, particularly in the 5th century BCE, during the leadership of Pericles. Athenian democracy was characterized by its direct form of governance, in which citizens had the right to participate directly in decision-making processes. This form of democracy emerged as a radical departure from earlier monarchies and aristocratic rule, and it became a defining feature of Athenian political life. The Athenian democracy was based on several key principles. 1. Citizenship and participation. Only male citizens, who were free-born Athenians and over the age of 18, had the right to participate in the democratic process. This excluded women, slaves, and foreign residents, metics, from political participation, but within the citizen class, the system was radically inclusive. 2. The assembly, ecclesia. The central body of Athenian democracy was the ecclesia, an assembly where citizens could gather to debate and vote on important matters. The ecclesia met approximately every 10 days and was open to all citizens. Decisions made by the assembly were binding and covered issues such as war, foreign policy, and laws. 3. Council of 500, Boule. The Boule was responsible for the day-to-day administration of the city. It was composed of 500 citizens, chosen by lot, to serve for 1 year. The council prepared the agenda for the assembly and handled the execution of its decisions. 4. Direct voting and lotteries. Athenian democracy also employed the use of lotteries for certain positions of power. Citizens were randomly selected for various government roles, such as magistrates and members of the council. This approach was designed to prevent corruption and ensure that all citizens had a chance to serve in governance. Athenian democracy is often considered the birthplace of democratic ideals, as it allowed for active participation by citizens in shaping the direction of their city-state. However, it was not without its flaws. Women, slaves, and non-citizens were excluded from the political process, and the decision-making process was often swayed by the rhetoric of influential leaders. Despite these limitations, Athens' experiment with democracy laid the groundwork for modern democratic thought. Let me know if you need any formatting adjustments or modifications. Oligarchy in Sparta. In stark contrast to Athens, Sparta was governed by an oligarchic system that concentrated power in the hands of a few elites. The Spartan political system was highly structured, with a focus on military discipline, stability, and control. Spartan society was organized around the idea of maintaining a strong, unified military state, and its political system reflected this priority. The Spartan oligarchy was defined by several key institutions. 1. The two kings. Sparta was unique in that it had two kings, one from the Aegiad and one from the Euripon royal families. These kings had military and religious duties and were elected for life, although their powers were limited by other governing bodies. Their role was largely symbolic, as they shared power with other institutions in the oligarchic system. Number 2, the Gerousia, Council of Elders. The Gerousia was composed of 28 men over the age of 60, plus the two kings. Members of the Gerousia were elected for life and were responsible for making important decisions regarding laws and policy. The Gerousia had the authority to propose laws, which were then voted on by the Appella, the Assembly of Citizens. The council had significant power, especially in matters related to the military and foreign policy. 3. The Appella, Assembly of Citizens. The Appella was made up of all male citizens over the age of 30. While the Appella could vote on laws and policies proposed by the Gerousia, it did not have the same level of power as the Athenian Assembly. Members of the Appella did not engage in debate. Instead, they cast votes based on the proposals put forward by the Gerousia. Number 4. The Ephors. The Ephors were 5 elected magistrates who held considerable power in Sparta. They were responsible for overseeing the kings and ensuring that their actions conformed to Spartan law. The Ephors also held judicial authority and could even bring the kings to trial if they were found to have violated the law. Spartan oligarchy, while offering a sense of stability and military strength, concentrated political power in a small elite. This system ensured that only the wealthiest and most powerful individuals had a say in the governance of Sparta, leading to a lack of political representation for ordinary citizens. The Spartan system was effective in maintaining a strong military state, but it lacked the inclusiveness and civic engagement that characterized Athenian democracy. Tensions between democracy and oligarchy. The political systems of Athens and Sparta highlight the ideological divide between democracy and oligarchy in ancient Greece. Athens' experiment with democracy was rooted in the idea of equal participation for all citizens, whereas Sparta's oligarchy was built on the notion of power concentrated in the hands of a few. These competing political systems often came into conflict, not only in the realm of politics, but also in military engagements. The Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BCE, fought between the Athenian-led Delian League and the Spartan-led Peloponnesian League, was in many ways a conflict between these two forms of governance. Athens represented democracy, while Sparta embodied oligarchy, and their rivalry was not just political, but also ideological. The Peloponnesian War resulted in the eventual defeat of Athens, but the consequences were far-reaching. Although Athens' democratic system collapsed briefly after the war, its democratic ideals continued to influence Greek political thought. Meanwhile, Sparta's oligarchic system, though initially successful, gradually weakened as its military dominance declined. Legacy of the Polis system. The political competition between democracy and oligarchy in ancient Greece had a profound impact on the development of political theory and governance in the Western world. Athens's democratic model provided the foundation for the later development of democratic systems, particularly in the Roman Republic and modern democratic states. Meanwhile, the oligarchic structures of Sparta influenced ideas about military governance and the role of elites in shaping the political order. The legacy of the Polis system also illustrates the tension between the ideals of equality and participation versus the need for stability and control. The debate between democracy and oligarchy continues to shape political discourse to this day, as societies grapple with questions about the distribution of power, the role of citizens in governance, and the relationship between individual rights and collective responsibility. In conclusion, the polis system in ancient Greece, with its competing models of democracy and oligarchy, played a pivotal role in shaping the political landscape of the ancient world. These systems were not just theoretical constructs, but reflected the values, priorities, and struggles of the people who lived in the Greek city-states. The legacy of these debates continues to resonate in the political systems of the modern